While Washington sounded the alarm, London made a move no one saw coming. So what exactly is in this deal? Why is the US so concerned? And is this the moment where traditional Western alliances begin to quietly break apart? Let's unpack why this deal matters more than most realize, and what it could mean for the world's power balance. For decades, the United Kingdom and the United States have been known for what politicians love to call a special relationship. It's not just a friendly handshake across the Atlantic. It's about deep trust built through wars, diplomacy, intelligence sharing, and shared values. They've stood side by side in NATO, cooperated in the Cold War, and backed each other during crises from Iraq to Afghanistan. In many ways, the UK has often acted as America's closest ally, a reliable partner when others hesitated. Scene 4. Signs of stress. But lately that bond has been showing signs of stress. Scene 5. Trade and Huawei. Take trade, for example. Under President Trump, the U.S. turned inward with America First policies, which sometimes left allies like the UK out in the cold. Then came the disputes over Huawei, the Chinese tech giant. Washington urged its allies not to let Huawei into their 5G networks, calling it a security risk. The UK initially resisted, but later agreed to limit Huawei's role, clearly under pressure. Then there's NATO. The US has accused European nations, including the UK, of not spending enough on defense, straining the alliance further. So when the UK now moves forward with a major infrastructure deal involving China, a country the US views as its top strategic rival, it hits a nerve. Is this just another disagreement between old friends? Or is it the beginning of a shift, where the UK is starting to chart a more independent path? One where national interest matters more than American approval? Let's dig into the deal itself and see what's really on the table. The UK has signed a significant rail infrastructure deal with China, focused on modernizing and expanding the country's high-speed rail networks. Chinese state-backed companies like China Railway Construction Corporation will provide advanced technology, engineering expertise, and billions in funding to fast-track projects that have faced delays. This includes the controversial HS2 Rail Project, which has struggled with rising costs. However, the involvement of Chinese state-owned companies raises concerns due to accusations of cutting corners, increasing debt, and aligning with Beijing's strategic goals, leading to fears about control and influence. Despite these concerns, the UK sees the deal as crucial for attracting foreign investment, especially in the post-Brexit era, to boost infrastructure, create jobs, and foster economic growth. Reactions within the UK are mixed. Some view it as a bold step toward a global Britain, while others, including trade unions and security experts, worry about the long-term costs, particularly regarding China's potential influence. The United States, however, strongly opposes the deal, viewing it as a security threat due to China's involvement in critical infrastructure. Washington has long been trying to counter China's rise, especially in areas like 5G and artificial intelligence. The United States, however, strongly opposes the deal, viewing it as a security threat due to China's involvement in critical infrastructure. Washington has long been trying to counter China's rise, especially in areas like 5G and artificial intelligence. The UK's decision to sign the deal felt like a betrayal to the US, especially after previous agreements, like the UK's ban on Huawei from its 5G networks. For the US, this marks a potential fracture in the Western alliance, raising concerns about who might follow the UK in distancing themselves from Washington's strategy against China. For the UK, this deal is seen not as an act of defiance, but as a strategic move driven by economic necessity and the need to diversify partnerships in a changing global landscape. So why did the UK choose to move forward with the deal, knowing it would upset the United States? The answer comes down to one word: Brexit. Ever since the UK left the European Union, it's been trying to redefine its place in the world. No longer part of the EU trade bloc, Britain is now looking for new partners, new markets, and fresh investment opportunities. And China, with its deep pockets and global ambitions, is hard to ignore. Rail infrastructure is a perfect example of where the UK needs help. Decades of underfunding and political delays have left the country with aging trains, congested routes, and sky-high travel costs. A modern rail system could boost productivity, create jobs, and connect regions that feel left behind, especially in the north of England. And here's the key. China has already built the world's largest high-speed rail network, stretching over 40,000 kilometers. They've done it fast and often under budget. For UK leaders trying to stimulate growth and prove post-Brexit Britain can thrive, China's offer looks less like a threat and more like a lifeline. There's also internal politics at play. Some members of the UK government, especially those pushing a global Britain agenda, see this as a bold step toward economic independence. Instead of following Washington's lead on every issue, they argue the UK should do what's best for its economy, even if that means working with countries like China. Still, this isn't a total shift away from the West. British officials have said they remain committed to the transatlantic alliance, but also need to be realistic. In today's multipolar world, balancing relationships between the US and China is the new diplomatic dance, one that many countries are learning to master. And that's where the story gets bigger. Because if Britain can ignore US warnings and still shake hands with Beijing, it begs the question, is this part of a larger trend? Are we seeing a deeper fracture in the Western alliance? Let's zoom out and look at the global picture. Scene 2. Shifting alliances. Let's zoom out and look at the global picture. Scene 2. Shifting alliances. If the UK, America's closest ally, can sign a major deal with China despite US warnings, it signals a larger shift. The Western alliance may no longer be as united as it once was. Economic pressures and political needs are pushing countries like Germany, Italy, the Philippines, and Thailand to work with China, even while maintaining ties with the US. This trend is part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is not just about infrastructure, but also about gaining influence globally. Scene 4. Balancing economic interests. The UK-China rail deal fits this pattern of countries balancing their economic interests with China while avoiding confrontation. However, this could weaken the Western alliance from within, as nations quietly pursue their own paths, possibly at the expense of shared goals. If this continues, the world might enter an era where countries act in their own interests, rather than aligning with East or West. Despite the deal's surface benefits, there are risks. National security concerns arise if Chinese firms control critical infrastructure, possibly giving China access to sensitive data or even causing disruptions. Past examples like Sri Lanka's Hambantota port and Kenya's railway show how such deals can lead to debt traps and loss of control. The UK may think it's immune, but financial pressures could make it vulnerable to Chinese influence. Public trust might also be shaken if sensitive systems are controlled by a foreign power known for surveillance. Scene 5. Long-term risks. In the end, while the UK may gain fast trains, the long-term risks to sovereignty, security, and independence could outweigh the benefits. Risks that might not be apparent until it's too late. So what does this all add up to? Is the United Kingdom's decision a bold new path or a turning point in global politics? The United Kingdom's decision to sign a rail deal with China, despite clear and repeated warnings from the United States, isn't just about trains or trade. It's about a changing world order. For over 70 years, the world largely moved within a framework shaped by the US and its closest allies. But today, that foundation is beginning to shift. And this rail deal might be a symbol of something much bigger, where economic survival starts to matter more than old friendships. It raises tough questions. Are countries like the UK being pragmatic, doing what's best for their economies in uncertain times? Or are they being reckless, opening the door to long-term risks in exchange for short-term gain? We may be witnessing a slow but powerful trend, the unraveling of US dominance, not through war or revolution, but one quiet infrastructure deal at a time. China isn't trying to take over the world in one bold move. It's working step by step, through ports, roads, telecom networks, and now, each project adds another link in a growing global chain. And each time an ally of the US says yes to China, it weakens the unity Washington once relied on. So, what should we make of it all? Are we entering a new era where traditional alliances break down, replaced by a more fragmented, unpredictable world? And what does this mean for your country? Should your leaders follow the UK's lead, or stand firm with the old order? We want to hear from you. Is the UK being bold, reckless, or just realistic? We want to hear from you. Is the UK being bold, reckless, or just realistic? Is China reshaping the world silently, and are we too late to stop it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story opened your eyes to how railroads, politics, and global power are all connected, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because we've got more deep dives coming your way.